stuff today, boys. We got my old turbo. We have a bunch of turbines, a bunch of housings, another Citroen cartridge that's leaking oil everywhere. But what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I took this dual ball bearing center cartridge. This is dual ball bearing. The hot side turbine fits my 35 frame hot side, so that should be okay, but the turbine did not fit. So we took a 35, a standard GT35, because this is a GT35, a GTX 35. We took the 35X wheel off, and then we threw just a standard 35 wheel on there. And this is probably not super proper, but we're experimenting, and honestly I just want to get her going again, so we're gonna do some crazy stuff. Now we got ourselves our modified Frankenstein cartridge, which I do not have a whole high ambitions for, but I mean, it spins, it fits, everything should be in a sense, you know, drop it and go. Now that we got the turbo rebuilt, as you can see, we are going to be going ahead and doing the engine mount as well. Considering one of my previous videos, I showed you how towards the end of the season, blew the turbo up, and then I also had ripped the mount right out of the frame. So, as you can see here, the mount broke. Both of these tabs broke. This one's sheared right off. I got it right here. This one stayed intact, but this is the one that ripped the metal out of the chassis. So as you can see here, ripped it clean out. I did my best to kind of bend it back to where it should be, but we're missing some material. It obviously left the chat, but we're gonna weld it in there, something like that. What I want to do is just throw the turbo on it so I can drive it in some of these nicer days. You know, it's not snowing outside and all that, because believe it or not, ethanol is cheaper, even though I consume more fuel more frequently with ethanol. Still cheaper to drive the sedan over my RSX. I have a Type S. Filling that thing with premium, you know, 50-60 bucks a week, it adds up, versus the Dirty Dan. Excuse me, the Dirty Dan. I'll fill up for $23 and make that last me pretty much the entire week. So I'll probably be getting this thing going just so I can go ahead and drive it on these nicer days that it's not snowing, there's no real salt on the ground, and do it like that. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Nick should be here pretty soon here, and he's gonna help me out with that. We're gonna weld up the manifold runners that cracked, which I showed in my previous video. Weld up this the mount bracket and the frame, and hopefully throw this thing back together today, start her up, take her around for a spin, quick around the block. a very temporary fix, just because we've welded this thing so many times. What we're gonna probably doing is just chopping the 45, chopping all these 90s out, the 45, just welding new pieces in, because this is not a full fix. This is just a gotta get her by kind of fix. Otherwise we would have replaced the runners, tigged the whole thing, and you know, done the whole thing good. But this will get me by for what I want, and we're gonna go ahead and install her now. Would you just look at it? You can't even tell something was ever broken. This is why I have Nick do stuff for me. Because when you want something done right, you don't do it yourself. You have Nick do it. Far so good. All the repairs have been made. We're gonna go take her out for the spin around the block and see how she does. So I smelt a little something, so I came back, and sure enough, we got a little leak at the fitting here. So we're gonna tighten that up, and hopefully all is good there. Other than that, I did notice, I don't know if you can see it in there, but I did notice, yeah, you can kind of see it. I think the turbine might be rubbing up on the housing. Oh yeah, we got shaft play. Yep, that's no good. So this turbo is bad already. Yeah, it's kind of a failure. I don't think that's gonna work out. The turbo junk. But now we know you can't just go ahead and throw a bunch of parts on a turbo and expect it to work. I'm assuming the reason why this turbo failed so quickly is because of the fact that it probably needed to be balanced. Probably a pretty critical thing. But we know, I mean, now we know. I mean, you can see all the shaft play in there. I doubt the leak at the fitting caused this issue, considering we were still getting oil through the turbo, and that doesn't look like it was just leaking a whole lot. I mean, it was leaking a lot, but not bad enough to where it was starving the turbo of oil. And this turbo was good prior to us putting it on today. So yeah, I'm assuming it's just, you can't just use any turbo parts willy-nilly for the most part. If you're gonna do that, swapping turbines over and whatnot, I recommend just sending it off, getting it balanced, or getting it done by a professional. Because I had no idea what I was doing when it came to rebuilding this turbo. And realistically, I pulled, I didn't show it on camera, but what I did was I actually pulled apart the entire CHRA. I pulled the bearings out of it. I pulled all the snap rings out of it. So maybe when I put it back together, I screwed something up. I don't know. However, now you guys know, if you're going to be doing it, you know, at least know what you're doing, or send it off to someone who knows what they're doing. I had no idea what I was doing, and hey, now I know, you know. I'm sure if I took some time and really just kind of researched and did my homework on how a turbo rebuild should be done, and I brought the right parts and all that stuff, maybe, just maybe, I would have been able to make this work somehow, some way. However, that's not what I was in it for. I wanted to just kind of see if I can slap something together quick on the fly and make it work with what I had, and that's not the case here, at least not for me. So I had to point this out real quick. I popped the housing off the turbo, and with the housing on before, the turbine didn't want to spin all that well. But now, with the housing off, it spins great. As a ball bearing should. So, I mean, yeah, the play side to side is a little excessive, but I don't know. If you guys have input on it, let me know. Like I said, I shouldn't be rebuilding turbos, to be honest with you. That's not my thing. I've never done it before. I mean, I've done like journal bearings and stuff like that, but this is my first crack at a ball bearing turbo. I really shouldn't have messed with it because there was literally nothing wrong with it other than it leaked some oil through the seal out the inlet. So I don't know, I just wanted to experiment with it, do some cool stuff. But I'm gonna park this thing outside. I'm gonna go ahead and let it sit for a while. We're probably just gonna end up buying a new turbo for it anyway, and then I'm gonna eventually, I got some plans for this. I got some plans for the Dirty Dan, which will come at a later date in another video. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. As always, like, subscribe, comment. It helps me out a lot. And I really hope you guys have a good weekend, good week ahead of you. So until next time.